Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Memes of the Week. The best thing you can do for this channel is spank that like button to help this video reach a wider audience. And now on with the memes. Number one, here's an anti-feminist poster from the early 20th century. Except back then they were called suffragettes. I wonder if they call them that because they made men suffer. And you can sure bet that they like to cause men pain because they're old and angry, that no one wants them anymore. The more things change, the more they say the same. Even back then, guys didn't want to sacrifice for their countries to have women make them suffer. Up next, we have a knife-wielding psycho that shoves a Verizon worker to the ground and then tries to grape her before stealing thousands of dollars worth of phones. If he was Caucasian, they would have called him a violent white male misogynist. But calling this guy knife-wielding sicko is all about protecting the narrative. I bet you anything that the cops booked him and put down that he's also white. Also for the narrative. At least they included his photo. At least that's some progress there. Number three, this woman is upset because her mother stole her boyfriend and married him. And now she's lost the two most important people in her life. How awful young women are these days. I wouldn't be surprised if we started seeing more of this. Because old women are more pleasant to be around, don't you know? My theory is he didn't want to be with her because he saw the number of hair colors she had, which indicated how many different personalities she has. Moving on is the late great Kevin Samuels. A woman tells him she deserves a high-value man. He says, ma'am, keep in mind you're 39 with 5 children, with 4 different baby daddies. But please go on. He said stuff like this regularly. Rest in peace. He passed away in the throes of passion with some woman. If he had gone his own way instead, there's a good chance he'd still be with us today. Number 5, men would rather choose a shy, polite, soft woman with 0 achievements rather than an arrogant career woman. I agree, and those are the types of women that I always dated. You want peace in a relationship. Unfortunately, most men are thirsty and they go for the mean, crazy ones every time, because those are the only ones they can get. Most men have no choice but to be with a woman that makes their lives harder. Up next, this so-called natural redhead is thinking about how her brother and her smashed just 5 minutes before their mother's funeral. Looks like that mom is the luckiest one in the family. When her brother and her do it, do they actually play Sweet Home Alabama in the background? Let's hope her brother was adopted. But I have my doubts because her hair says maybe, but the lack of nose ring says maybe not. Most simps out there are probably saying, I can fix her. Number 7, Mia says that women can sleep with whatever man they want, but men only sleep with who they can. Gavin responds by saying men marry who they want, and women only marry who they can. That's true, and men don't even have to get married anymore. Both of these statements are totally correct. But for women, she can only sleep with whatever man she wants while she's young, not once she ages out of the dating markets. Moving on is a person that says guess their pronouns. There's so many possibilities like libtard, or land whale, maybe blobkin, or Drew Carey. Burn my eyes or even big/nasty are also good ones. But seriously, is anyone really surprised that she's a Dave Matthews fan? I just want to know what happened to Discount Velma here. Looks like they went to the wrong college. I don't want to guess their pronouns and have a better chance of guessing their weight. Number 9, some people have said that the new Romeo and Juliet film should be called Romeo and Tyrone, but it looks more like Spider-Man vs. Predator. Better yet, how about we just call it Pulp Fiction Part 2? Romeo and Jules. You know, when this film drops, it's going to be Meme-mageddon. They'll blame men calling us sexist and say that we hate black women because we don't want to see it. But shaming won't work. This poor girl probably has no idea that they chose her for a social media backlash. Up next, who do you think is going to be the main villain in the new Ray Soywalker film? I'm thinking it'll probably be your biological clock or period. Wouldn't it be better if she just became the villain instead? Of course, Hollywood can't have that, so they'll probably bring in a white male villain. Isn't it obvious that Palpatine will return again? Seriously, if they made a non-woke film with a strong male lead, it would make millions if not billions. The reason they keep on killing Star Wars is because the fans just won't die. They keep consuming the old stuff, and it'll take a generation or two of bad Star Wars to purge all the male fans. Number 11, never date a woman that's taking the pill. It alters her mating preferences. If she likes you while on the pill, then she won't find you attractive when she's off of it. It works the other way too. If she meets you and isn't on the pill, and someday she goes on the pill, then she's more likely to cheat. Both ways, it's pretty bad. use rubbers, and avoid her being attracted to another. The divorce rates also started spiking right as hormonal birth control became a big thing, creating the single mother epidemic. Moving on is a woman that's putting her grape fantasy out there for all to see. I can't even read it, it's so scandalous. I need to ask which wave of feminism this is. Is this what they mean when they say that they're playing hard to get? 62% of them fantasize about this, but they just want it from a Chad. Besides, she looks like the type they would say yes every time. Number 13, all spicy content creators gave the same answer when asked about the negative impact their careers had on their lives. I think they mean the negative impact on their careers instead, saying that they can't fart properly anymore because it sounds like a train whistle. Either that or the sound of a whale opening up its blowhole, and somehow it's all men's fault, even though they willingly put themselves through that pounding. No pun intended. Up next, this woman sold her house to pay for a facelift, and now she lives in a van. Well, at least she's a facelifted homeless person that now looks like a cave woman. I bet her logic was she'll sell her house, put the money into surgery so she can look hot enough to capture some rich guy with a better house. Well, at least she now looks 10 days younger. But I bet the stress of being homeless will age her back to where she started shortly. Number 15, Kevin Sorbo, the guy that played 1990s Hercules, says that the society of strong men never would have allowed what's happening right now. That's why masculinity was attacked first. They can't control strong men, so they're trying to prevent them from ever being created. I just find it ironic that his version of masculinity is long flowing hair and pretending with makeup. Sounds like a drag queen to me. Luckily, it doesn't look like a Harlequin romance novel cover anymore. Moving on, here's what it looks like with Mexicans going to America for economic opportunity. Yet Americans are heading to Mexico for cheap housing. The so-called American or Canadian dream is no longer found in America, but in other countries, and it seems like only people living in Western countries understand this right now. When the Mexicans try and go home, once they realize the American dream is a lie, they won't be able to afford housing in Mexico anymore, because the Americans will have bought it all. Number 17, this single mother of two thinks she's a hot girl, and she's not looking for hookups, but a family man. She looks like a 2, and that's before becoming a single mother. That means her score is now probably a negative 2.5. She also has an overinflated sense of self-worth because there are tons of low-status men out there that give her attention on dating apps. Most guys don't understand that there are thirsty simps that'll say that she's an 11 out of 10. Up next, remember that the best question you can ask your next date is what her body count is. Chicks love that question. Also, just to be on the safe side, also ask her for specific dates that she had sex on. Obviously, I'm just kidding. But if you ever do ask a woman her body count, she'll complain and play the part of the victim. I asked a woman once and she said more than she would like that number to be. If she's a woman and doesn't like her high number, then just imagine how much men must really like it. Number 19, Peru has officially classified trans people as mentally ill. I wonder if they'll start picking them up with dog catcher vans and taking them to the asylums. Do you think that every country in the world should follow their lead and tell it like it is? The left would have you think that men are evolving into women, and that's a good thing. Maybe we need to de-evolve. Moving on, even though Trump lost his trial, at least with the sketch artists, art imitates life. The artist captured the smirk perfectly, and you know that the artist knew about the pre-existing meme and is now a based edgelord because of it. Number 21, Christina and Gabrielle were happily married for 20 years, but Christina eventually wanted a divorce. But to her shock, she'd found out they'd already been divorced. 4 months after their marriage, they were in the Dominican for a vacation, and there only one party needs to file for divorce in that country without informing the other. He said he did this because he knew that one day she would divorce him and try and take all his money. Looks like this king is playing 4D chess while this queen is playing with her double Ds. Up next, the struggle is real when you're on the spectrum. You either talk to people and appear awkward, or you stay quiet and are awkward that way. But since the advent of the smartphone, junior autists could hide in plain sight on their phones. In the 90s, I did that by going on my Walkman or Discman. You're not awkward being quiet if you're on a device or listening to music on a headset. Or you can choose the best of both worlds and start talking to yourself. Number 23, we have a woman that's proud of herself for starting 8 arguments with her boyfriend today. They say that having many little arguments is the key to avoiding a big fight. Or you can do what I always did in relationships, which is to never fight at all. But this woman wants her drama because making him miserable makes her happy. Buddy here looks like he's going to drop dead of a heart attack one day from her words. but he needs to go his own way. Moving on, notice how toilets all over the world are different. If you've heard of the Dubai porta potty girls before, they're on the bottom right. Few really understand what that really means when a hot young Western woman travels alone and basically goes to Dubai and comes back with tons of money. Also, how are you supposed to use the toilets in China? Are you supposed to squat or something? Now you probably know why Chinese calf muscles are unbeaten. Number 25 and the last one, genetics are amazing. This woman's great-great-grandmother was from Nigeria, so that's why the baby is dark. Well, that's the story she tells her husband anyway. Meanwhile, the dog knows his master is cocked, and he knows what's up. The real family portrait in this case should probably look more like this. So that's it. If you enjoy this series and want me to keep making it, then donate at the YouTube, PayPal, or Subscribe Star links below. Anyways, enjoy the rest of your day, and cheers.